This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Prime Minister Perry Christie revealed last month that the government was considering privatizing the national flag carrier Bahamas Air. And unions that represent employees within the organization are of the view that the process has already begun and are calling on the government to let them in on the discussions. Our Jimenita Ferguson has more.
Executives of the Airport, Airlines, and Allied Workers Union, which represents Bahamas Air employees, are seeking answers from the government on what the union claims to be the apparent privatization process of the national flag carrier. Union President Nellarine Harding says that process seems to be unfolding without any input from the union.
Recently, we've seen a document where a letter was sent to our minister responsible for Bahamas Air where they're seeking job cuts in regards to this alleged privatization. I spoke to President Sanders here, and I also spoke to the president of the Middle Manchester Union. We are preparing a document, a letter from the three unions to send to the Prime Minister requesting an audience, because this entire weekend I've had 4 persons from different sectors that have said to me that President Harding, be aware you're going to have a fight. There's some serious talks going on with the government in regards to the Chinese being able to purchase Bahamas Air. There's some privatization talks, serious privatization talks going on.
Harding says concerns surfaced after an employee was terminated against company policy last month. She says the female airline hostess had reached the age of 60, and that matter has still not been resolved. But the union president claims it opened their eyes to what they believe has been the start of the privatization process.
Even if you're going to privatize this organization, you're actually stripping their present employees of what they would have earned to say, allow them to leave with dignity. And I think that warrants an urgent meeting.
Meanwhile, Bahamas Air sources close to that process confirmed to ZNS News that the privatization of the airline is in its infancy stage. According to sources, discussions have commenced with the research and information gathering process. At the appropriate time, we understand union officials will be included in the discussions.
To us, it warrants immediate attention, and to see that the level of where it's at and the unions are not involved, it's a major concern, and we know we have a battle on our hands, and I told them that we're going to be prepared for it.
Harding says that union members will not continue to be on the outside looking in as discussions continue. She says an emergency meeting is planned for as early as Wednesday for members to discuss their next course of action. Jimenita Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Now, Managing Director of Bahamas Air, Henry Woods, told ZNS News late this afternoon that no discussions have commenced on the matter, and he says he believes that there may be some mischief in the workplace among employees.
Good is how Sky Bahamas captain Randy Butler is describing the meeting he held with staff members at the airline's Blake Road corporate office earlier this afternoon. He maintains that staff members now understand the impact the alleged sick-out placed on the airline's operations.
It was a meeting to make sure we understand that the pilots had a right to be sick or do whatever actions they had, and they're part of us, and it's important as family that we continue ahead as family. So that's what this is about. Today's a tough day for us, a very tough day for us, and probably tomorrow too. But I got a group of people that's in there behind me, and they're ready to go. And I've committed to work and to communicate and to negotiate for whatever we need to do to make this company to go.
Captain Butler confirmed that the airline's normal operations resumed at 6 o'clock this evening, and he hopes that issues raised at this afternoon's meeting will stop any further disruptions.
The operations was challenged already, with the 3-day situation challenge us even more. And so we have right now reduced operations, and how we're going to go forward with that reduced operations into the future to make sure we deliver superior service. We're regrouping right now, and the challenges of the day, we're still going through that. But I can tell you the operation has been greatly impacted. Everybody seems to understand that now, and understand more and more what I've been saying all the time. These are challenging times. We need to read the papers. This was something that we could ill afford.
Now, Sky Bahamas pilots met late last night after representatives from the National Congress of Trade Unions, the Financial Services Union, and Airport, Airline and Allied Workers Union held lengthy discussions with Sky Bahamas CEO Butler and labor consultant Keith Archer over various issues, which eventually led to that weekend sick-out among pilots. President of the Bahamas Pilot Alliance, Mark Johnson, says after repeated attempts to have Butler present a counter-proposal, he has yet to do so, and pilots are unsure of their future with the organization.
Some of these guys had job arrangements from 1992 that hasn't changed. The cost of living is increasing every day. The price of gas is increasing every day, and they are working with the same salaries, they just want a better quality of life, work environment, seniority list, stuff like that, to ensure that they would move in the right direction and be able to keep up with the economy, basically.
While operations at Sky Bahamas have resumed today, Butler, in an earlier interview, claimed that another day of sick calls could have led to staffing levels being significantly reduced or even the closure of the business. But President of the Airport, Airline and Allied Workers Union, Nellarine Harding, says all of this highlights a bigger issue that the pilots shouldn't be solely blamed for. And President of the Bahamas Airline Pilots Association, Emil Saunders, is also supporting the group, saying this fight is for all pilots.
Any organization that after 2 days of cancellation of flights say they're going to close down, I would say, well, basically your organization was already there. If you couldn't sustain 2 days of it, small corporation or not, there are things that you have that are natural disasters that normally would have taken place. If there was a hurricane, well, then your organization still would have gone on because you would have had 2 days you couldn't fly in any event.
We've identified certain areas that would differ because we fully understand that the charter companies, the charter airlines are not like Bahamas Air. They have a much smaller complement of pilots. Their route structure is not as broad as ours. And I think overall, these professional pilots just want some type of working agreement.
Executives of Sky Bahamas estimate that the airline lost some $126,000 during the 2-day sick-out. Well, today, all of those pilots reported to work. But despite those losses incurred, executives say they don't plan on packing up anytime soon. LaDon Davis spoke to CEO of Sky Bahamas, Captain Randy Butler, on the challenges and the next step for the airline.
No pilot have spoken to me. Folks started today like nothing happened.
CEO of Sky Bahamas Captain Randy Butler says it was business as usual for at least 12 highly paid but well-trained Sky Bahamas pilots who returned to work Tuesday morning after staging an alleged 2-day sick-out, which may have stemmed from a delay in union contract negotiations. But Butler says he is still baffled by this latest action taken by the airline's pilots, as there was a meeting with all parties involved 3 weeks ago.
If you just wanted me to sit down and say I'm going to negotiate a contract, just say that. That was never said. Never. I don't know if I was too naive to believe. Nobody talked to me. I spoke to the pilots. We had a meeting 3 weeks ago. Nobody. I pull up the contract in the meeting and say I had received it and was looking at it and going through it.
But Butler says losing over $126,000 as a result of a 2-day sick-out by pilots over the holiday weekend is not the only challenge Sky Bahamas has to deal with.
Rising cost of fuel, the rising cost of the fees at NAT, the rising costs of the civil aviation fees, and in some places you have double or triple taxation. For example, let me tell you some of the fees at the airport here. You pay rent, which is normal. You pay something called facility fee, where the passengers pay, that go through $5 for facility, $5 for security. Then you have to pay what they call another fee, where you pay by the amount of seats you have on the airplane.
Now, Captain Randy Butler says he is considering reducing his staff and cutting current routes to the Family Islands. However, he admits, though, that it's not one of his plans of action.
We're now only operating between Marsh Harbor and Fort Lauderdale. We're not operating right now to Nassau and Fort Lauderdale. I think on the holiday we had one flight scheduled to go to Freeport. We did one part of that flight. The next one, sick out, affected that. So we're operating seasonally out of Freeport and Nassau during Christmas and the busy summer period.
But despite these challenges, the airline's CEO is sharing his immediate plans moving forward.
We're looking at reshaping our business model again. The way I've operated and managed this company is I manage, my folks give me ideas and show me how to do things because they're doing it every day. Just to pack up and go away, that's not an option for us. We have to fight, but we have to keep a standard and we have to make sure it makes sense and it's doing what we've been called to do.
LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
Lots of softball action taking place in Andros.
And also ahead, hear more about a festival taking place in the Big Yard last weekend. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain. Approximately 100 casino managers, gaming regulators, compliance officers, and gaming representatives from the Caribbean, Europe, and Latin America are expected to attend the Bahamas Gaming Forum 2013. The event will highlight techniques for improving regulation and security in the Bahamian and Caribbean gaming sectors. It's supported by the Bahamas Gaming Board and the Ministry of Tourism and is being organized by the UK consultancy firm, the International Governance and Risk Institute. It will be held at the Atlantis Resort from October 28th to 30th. In other business news, the 8th annual Exuma Business Outlook kicks off next week. The focus of this year's event is sustainable development for Exuma, finding the right mix of people and strategies. Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources V. Alfred Gray is expected to deliver the keynote address. He is expected to focus on the importance of increasing local production as a necessary adjunct to tourism development and retaining more income from tourism. The one-day symposium will take place at the Sandals Emerald Bay Resort in Georgetown. And BlackBerry is working to retain customer confidence. USA Today is reporting that the smartphone maker issued an open letter to its customers. It says, quote, "You can count on BlackBerry. How do we know? We have substantial cash on hand and the balance sheet is debt-free," end quote. BlackBerry has taken a beating from Apple's iPhones and other smartphones with Google's Android operating system. The company acknowledged that Apple and Android devices are becoming commonplace in the workplace, but the company says it can manage different platforms seamlessly and securely. It also said it plans to make its popular BBM messaging service available to iPhone and Android phones, something it says at least 6 million customers are looking forward to once the service is rolled out. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain.